at sea, a chilling legend whispers through the fog. The tragic tale of HMS Friday, a doomed ship that would become synonymous with disaster, defiance, and dark superstition. The story begins with the Royal Navy's desperate attempt to rid themselves of an ancient curse, one that had haunted sailors for centuries. The belief that setting sail on a Friday would bring doom to any ship that dared to tempt fate. For years, the superstition had plagued them, with countless vessels meeting untimely ends simply because their departure had been deemed ill-fated. But in a bid to prove the old wives' tales wrong, the Royal Navy ordered the construction of a new ship, the HMS Friday. It was meant to be the ultimate symbol of courage, a vessel that would break the curse once and for all. But from the moment the ship was launched, something was off. The air around the HMS Friday seemed heavier, thick with an eerie, oppressive force that no one could explain. The sailors aboard felt it too. The strange, unshakable sensation that they were being watched, that something sinister lurked just beyond the veil of the fog. The first sign of disaster came before the ship had even left port. A powerful storm swept in with unnatural speed, its winds howling like vengeful spirits, tearing at the sails and throwing the ship about like a toy. The crew fought desperately to maintain control, but it was clear HMS Friday was cursed from the start. They struggled against the storm, their hopes dashed as the ship was tossed relentlessly by the waves, as if the very sea itself was angry at their defiance. But the worst was yet to come. As the ship ventured deeper into the storm's heart, an eerie silence fell over the crew. The wind stopped, the waves stilled, and a thick fog descended, thick enough to suffocate any light. The sailors, confused and terrified, peered into the darkness, their hearts pounding in their chests. And then they saw it, emerging from the fog, a shadowy shape that loomed on the horizon. It was a massive, ghostly figure, a ship unlike any they had ever seen, a hulking phantom that seemed to glide across the water without making a sound. In a panic, the captain ordered the HMS Friday to turn and flee, but it was too late. The shadowy figure was upon them in an instant, its ghostly crew emerging from the mist, their hollow eyes staring into the souls of the sailors. The specters boarded the HMS Friday with unnatural speed, their movements jerky and unnatural, as if they were not entirely of this world. The air turned ice cold, and the crew of the HMS Friday was struck by an overwhelming sense of dread, the kind that gripped their hearts with icy fingers. As the phantom crew closed in, the sailors screamed, an unearthly, agonizing cry that echoed through the ship, only to be swallowed by the fog. One by one, they vanished into the mist, dragged away by the spectral crew who seemed to devour their very souls. Those few who managed to survive reported hearing the whispers of the lost crew in the fog, their voices twisted and faint, calling out in agony for eternity. The HMS Friday was never seen again. The wreckage was never found, and the fate of its crew was sealed in legend. The superstition remained true, it seemed. The ship, born of defiance, had met its doom on that cursed Friday. The HMS Friday had been swallowed by the sea, its ghostly crew lost to the fog, a reminder that some curses can never be broken. To this day, sailors who venture out on Fridays still speak of the shadowy ship that drifts through the fog, its cursed crew forever bound to the waters. HMS Friday serves as a chilling warning to those who would dare to challenge the ancient forces of the sea. Some superstitions are not just beliefs, but the dark whispers of the past, waiting to claim those foolish enough to ignore
was a small town tucked away in a forgotten corner of the countryside where something strange happened every morning at precisely 5 a.m. The townspeople called it the baby train. It was said that each day, without fail, a train would pass through, its whistle echoing through the empty streets, a sound that tore through sleep and dreams, leaving only the darkness before dawn. The whistle had an eerie quality, something that seemed to linger in the air long after the train was gone. It was almost like a voice, calling out to those still trapped in the haze of sleep, urging them to do something, anything, to fill the empty, unsettling hour. Couples would wake, eyes half open, feeling a compulsion they couldn't quite place. It was too early to start the day, too late to drift back into peaceful slumber. In that strange, suspended time, they turned to each other, as if possessed by some unseen force. Months passed, and soon the town found itself in the midst of a baby boom, a surge of infants born at almost exactly the same time. But there was something peculiar about the children. They were quiet, too quiet, their eyes wide and unblinking, as if they had brought something back with them from the foggy mornings when they were conceived. They grew quickly, their laughter echoing the train's whistle, high-pitched and almost unnatural, as if mocking the very people who had brought them into the world. The train still comes every morning at 5 a.m., and though the town has changed, the legend persists. The older residents warn newcomers, when you hear the whistle, stay in bed. Don't move, don't look out the window, and above all, don't answer the call. Because those born of the baby train are not quite like other children, and perhaps it's best not to add to their numbers.
In the chilling winter of 1953, the quiet town of Bladenboro, North Carolina, was gripped by fear. It started with a single grisly discovery. A family dog, its body drained of blood, left lifeless on the icy ground. The town whispered of a shadow in the woods, a monstrous creature with eyes that gleamed in the dark and fangs sharp enough to tear flesh like paper. They called it the Beast of Bladenboro, or more hauntingly, the Vampire Beast. Each night, the body count rose. Livestock and pets were found slaughtered, their corpses mangled, throats punctured by jagged teeth. The beast struck with silent, brutal efficiency, leaving trails of blood-soaked snow, yet no paw prints or clues. Locals reported glimpses of a hulking, cat-like creature, its coat a menacing shade that seemed to meld with the shadows. Its movements were swift and unnaturally smooth, stalking its prey with the calculated precision of a seasoned predator. Panic spread, and townsfolk gathered rifles and flashlights, forming hunting parties to track the monster. But the beast seemed to toy with them, vanishing like a spectre before they could close in. At night, they heard the eerie, guttural growls eyelids, chilling them to the bone. Hunters claimed to feel eyes watching from the darkness, as if the beast was studying them, mocking their futile efforts. Days turned into weeks, and the carnage continued. The town became paralysed, gripped by the terror of something unseen but all too real. Then, as abruptly as it had come, the creature vanished, leaving Bladenborough haunted and scarred. To this day, on the coldest nights of winter, when the wind howls through the trees, they say you can hear the faint growl of the beast of Bladenborough, lurking just out of sight, waiting for his next hunt. In the dense, eerie woods of Robertson County, Tennessee, the haunting legend of the Bell Witch continues to send chills down the spines of locals. The story began in 1817, when farmer John Bell Sr. and his family became targets of an unseen, malevolent force that seemed born of pure malice. They called it the Witch, and soon the whole town would tremble at her name. The haunting began with strange knocks and scratches echoing through the walls of the Bell home, sounds that grew louder, angrier with each passing night. Shadows twisted on the walls as if mocking the family, and disembodied whispers called out their names, echoing in the pitch-black darkness. But this was no mere ghostly nuisance. The Bell Witch possessed a terrifying intelligence. She could speak, cackling threats in a chilling voice, promising that her revenge was only beginning. The witch delighted in tormenting the Bell children, pulling their hair, pinching them, even slapping them with invisible hands. The air around the farm became thick and oppressive, as though her very presence suffocated life itself. She claimed she had a personal vendetta against John Bell and vowed to destroy him, leaving him sleepless and frail, his mind haunted by her endless taunts. Neighbours and townsfolk witnessed the witch's powers firsthand. Objects moved on their own, and her voice filled the air, sometimes screaming, sometimes laughing with a twisted joy. She could appear in any form she wished, a shapeshifter of pure darkness. In 1821, John Bell was found dead, his face twisted in horror, and a vial of strange, black liquid beside him. The witch claimed victory, declaring that she had poisoned him. Her laughter echoed through the empty halls of the Bell home, a final warning to any who might doubt her power. To this day, the spirit of the Bell Witch is said to haunt the land, her wrathful spirit lingering, waiting in silence for her next victim.
In the murky depths of the Pacific coast, beneath waves that hide countless mysteries, lurks a creature known to locals as Cadborosaurus, or simply Caddy. Tales of this monstrous sea serpent have haunted the people of British Columbia for generations. Dark, fearsome, and elusive, Caddy is said to dwell in the cold, shadowy waters of Cadboro Bay, emerging only when least expected to send shivers down the spines of those who dare venture too close. Those who claim to have seen Caddy describe it as a long, sinuous beast, its body twisting and coiling through the water with terrifying grace. Its head, reptilian and cold, rises silently from the waves, eyes glinting with a predatory intelligence, as if sizing up its next victim. The creature's mouth, lined with razor-sharp teeth, opens in a silent scream, promising a swift end to anything that crosses its path. Witnesses say that, at night, its scales reflect a ghostly shimmer, a faint glow that disappears as quickly as it appears, swallowed up by the ocean's darkness. Fishermen have reported feeling an eerie stillness in the water, an unnatural quiet that settles before Caddy surfaces. Boats have been found mysteriously overturned, nets shredded and equipment destroyed. Some swear they've seen bodies, mangled and broken, washed ashore, victims they believe of this ancient, merciless predator. Legends say that Caddy is as old as the ocean itself, a survivor from a forgotten age, hungry and restless in its eternal watch. And if you ever find yourself alone on the waters of Cadboro Bay, be wary. You might just glimpse a shadow beneath your boat. Feel the icy chill of something massive brushing against you from below. But remember, if you see Caddy, it's already too late. In the dead of night, under the oppressive weight of the full moon, a sinister pastime thrives in the quiet corners of rural farms. A cruel, twisted game known as cow tipping. The legend speaks of young thrill seekers who, driven by a strange, dark hunger, stalk the unwitting cows as they sleep soundly in the fields. The cows, standing on their hooves, are completely unaware of the danger creeping toward them. Silently, the tipper approaches, each step measured, each breath held. Then, with a single violent shove, the massive creature topples. The thud of the cow crashing to the earth echoes through the still night, a shocking sound that shatters the quiet like a gunshot. The cow, stunned and disoriented, struggles to rise, its heavy body too disoriented to defend itself. But it's not just the thrill of the topple that lingers. There's something deeply unsettling about the practice. Some say it awakens something ancient, a curse bound to the land. There are whispers in the shadows that those who partake in cow tipping may be marked, followed by a presence that never leaves them, a watchful, unseen force that waits. Others say that the cows, though silent, are not as innocent as they appear. They have their own dark secrets, secrets they whisper to the night, seeking vengeance on those who dare disturb their rest. And once the game is played, there's no turning back. Deep in the dense, shadowy forests of Mexico lurk the Chinex, small, sinister beings of Aztec mythology, creatures twisted by the ancient secrets of the underworld. Known as guardians of the wild, these entities are said to protect mountains and creatures, but their methods are anything but gentle. Those who wander too far into their realm often find themselves lost, surrounded by the whispering shadows of these creatures, who watch with dark, gleaming eyes. The Shinekes appear as tiny men and women, but don't let their size fool you. They are as ancient as the mountains themselves, with wrinkled faces that twist into sly, knowing smiles, and voices that mimic the sounds of the forest. Leaves rustling, branches cracking, animals calling. They're often spotted just out of reach, watching intruders with a curious, malevolent gaze. And if you catch a glimpse of them, it's already too late. Legend has it that the Chinex guard their sacred lands with ruthless cunning. If they catch you trespassing, they'll trap you in their twisted labyrinth of roots and shadows, luring you deeper and deeper until you're utterly lost. And for those unfortunate enough to cross their path directly, the Chinex are said to steal a part of your spirit, leaving you hollow, haunted, a mere shadow of your former self. Some who have encountered the Chinex return, but they're never quite the same. They speak of hearing eerie laughter that echoes in their minds, seeing flashes of tiny figures darting through the corner of their vision, and they always warn, never stray too deep into the forest. The Shinekes are watching, guarding, waiting, for they are the keepers of the wild, and their spirits hunger for any who dare to disturb their domain. In the grim corridors of 1960s police stations, an eerie rumor began to spread. A dark tool known as the colander lie detector. It wasn't an ordinary machine, but a contraption as twisted as the minds of those who wielded it. Stories tell of police or military interrogators, grim-faced and humorless, who would lead night suspects into dim, flickering rooms. There, in the center of a barren table, sat a colander, connected by tangled wires to a clunky, whirring photocopier. With cold hands and steely eyes, they would press the colander onto the suspect's head, the metal pressing down cold and biting. The suspect, bewildered and terrified, would feel every nerve prickling with dread, trapped under that metallic cage as the interrogators began their relentless questioning. For every answer, their eyes would narrow, scrutinizing the slightest twitch, listening to the hum of the machine as if it were an oracle. And then the moment of terror, the photocopier would sputter, lights flashing as it spat out a single sheet of paper. In bold, damning letters it read, "He's lying. No escape. No mercy." The suspect's denials would crumble under the weight of that simple, ominous phrase. Each lie printed like a final verdict, sealing their fate in ink. For hours the interrogation would continue, each piece of paper a silent accusation. Those trapped by the colander lie detector soon broke, their confessions ripped from them by fear and paranoia, convinced the machine held powers beyond human comprehension. And while rational minds would dismiss this setup as a mere psychological trick, to those who lived through it, the memory of that cold colander and the whispering hum of the photocopier still haunts their darkest nightmares. They say that some suspects, after enduring this twisted ritual, could still hear the faint sound of that photocopier, a ghostly reminder of the machine that could see through lies and leave nothing but a trail of fear in its wake. In the eerie darkness of Cape Henlopen State Park, a ghostly light flickers on the horizon, drawing the lost and the curious into its haunting glow. Known as the corpse light, this phantom flame lures those who wander too far from the path with a false promise of safety. It's a light that seems to dance just out of reach, flickering like a distant beacon, as though someone or something is waiting for you to follow. But don't be fooled by its warm, inviting glow. Those who have dared to approach the corpse light speak of a terror that creeps up behind you, growing colder and darker with every step you take toward it. The closer you get, the dimmer the light becomes, until it vanishes entirely, leaving you lost in a suffocating, unnatural darkness. And that's when the true horror strikes. Some say the light is the soul of a sailor who perished long ago, forever doomed to lead others to their doom. Others whisper that it's a manifestation of something far older, something that preys on the vulnerable. ever see the corpse light flickering in the distance, turn away. The light is a trap, and it will never let you leave. For 86 long years, the Boston Red Sox were plagued by a curse so dark it seemed to haunt every game, every season, and every hopeful fan. It was called the Curse of the Bambino, and it began with a single fateful act. In 1918, the Red Sox sold their star player, Babe Ruth, to the New York Yankees. The moment he left, a shadow descended over the team, one that would stretch across nearly a century of heartbreak and despair. From that day forward, the Red Sox were cursed. Every time they came close to victory, something insidious would strike. An error, a missed chance, a call gone wrong. The ballpark grew thick with a sense of dread, as if the very air was saturated with the weight of a vengeful spirit. Fans would watch in agony as their team faltered, and whispers of the Bambino's ghost, restless and furious, swirled through the stands. For 86 years, the curse thrived. It tore through the hopes of generations, mocking the team with every failed attempt to win the World Series. Some believed the curse was a punishment, others a malicious joke, but all felt its grip, cold and relentless. Then, in 2004, the impossible happened. The curse was broken, but not without the lingering memory of its chilling presence. Even today, when the Red Sox play, a whisper lingers in the air, a reminder of the cursed years, when victory seemed forever out of reach.
In the fog-laden town of Exeter, Rhode Island, the terrifying tale of Mercy Brown still lingers, casting shadows over history. In the winter of 1892, young Mercy died from a brutal case of tuberculosis, then known as consumption. But even death couldn't silence her story. Not long after her burial, rumours spread like wildfire. Her family too was falling mysteriously ill, wasting away as though something sinister was siphoning the life from them. Driven by fear, townsfolk began to suspect that Mercy was no ordinary victim of disease. They whispered that she had returned from the grave as a vampire, a malevolent spirit consuming her family's life essence from beyond. Desperate to end the curse, they resolved to perform a grim ritual, exhuming her body from the frozen ground. When they opened her coffin, they found her shockingly well preserved, her skin pale but intact, nails and hair seemingly grown, and her heart still containing fresh blood. Panic gripped them. They believed she was feeding, her undead spirit reaching from the grave. In a macabre attempt to end her hold over the living, they cut out her heart and liver, burning them to ash in a desperate ritual meant to destroy her lingering influence. The ashes were mixed into a tonic and given to her ailing brother, in hopes that drinking it would break the deadly connection Mercy held over him. But some say that Mercy's spirit did not rest after this ritual. Locals claim to see her figure drifting through the cemetery at dusk, her pale face visible in the moonlight, watching silently as if waiting for her next victim. Others report a suffocating chill in the air near her grave, an unnatural cold that wraps around them like icy hands. Even today, Mercy Brown's grave remains, a chilling reminder of superstition and desperation. Visitors say that if you stand near her grave at night, you can feel her presence, an overwhelming sense of sorrow and vengeance, a ghostly whisper from a past that refuses to be buried. Her legend endures as a reminder of how fear and folklore can reach out from the grave, grasping at the living with cold, relentless hands. In hushed tones and whispered warnings, parents tell the terrifying tale of the Blue Star tattoo. This urban legend claims that beneath the guise of innocent, temporary tattoos lurks a deadly trap, a means of luring children into a nightmare from which they might never wake. Stories circulate of these small, colourful tattoos, often with a single bright blue star, handed out near schools, parks, or community centres. They look harmless, playful even, but these seemingly cheerful designs hide something dark. According to the legend, these tattoos aren't just stickers. They're laced with LSD, designed to seep into a child's skin upon contact, triggering powerful and horrifying hallucinations. The children are left defenceless, their minds plunged into vivid, chaotic visions as the drug takes hold, warping reality into terrifying shapes and colours. Rumours say the drug leaves children not just disoriented, but addicted, trapped in a cycle of hallucination and despair. Some tales are even darker, warning that children who come in contact with the Blue Star tattoo are never the same, scarred by visions they can't shake, haunted by shadows only they can see. Parents and teachers pass on the warning: if your child comes home with an unfamiliar tattoo, wash it off immediately and seek help. The danger, they say, is real, spreading unseen, like a predator preying on innocence. To this day, the Blue Star tattoo legend continues to instill fear, a sinister story to remind children